Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Real Reviews by Loukprop, and today we'll be going through one of the most anticipated launches in Singapore this year, which is Lentor Hills Residences. We'll be going through an in-depth analysis that you don't want to miss. Let's go. So before I continue, as usual, we'll be basing it off of these factors. Let's go. So first off is location and accessibility. Now, we have already gone through the location in depth in our review of Lentor Modern, so I wouldn't go too much into the in-depth analysis of the location. If you want to see that, you can go and check out our review of Lentor Modern. But I'll just be adding on a little bit to that, plus repeat some of the stuff that I think are important. Firstly, of course, we are very near to Lentor MRT station, which is a new Thomson-East Coast Line. You can see it's just barely 2 minutes walk away from Lentor Hills Residences here. So let's talk about Thomson-East Coast Line. Now, from Lentor MRT station, you are 2 stops down to Bright Hill MRT station, which will be an interchange for the future Cross Island line. You are also about 4 stops down to Caldecott MRT station, which is an interchange to the Circle line, and also 6 stops down to Stevens MRT station, which is a downtown line. So you are very accessible to various interchanges, and also, of course, Thomson-East Coast Line goes all the way down to the Marina area and also goes up to the Woodlands decentralized CBD area. So very accessible to anywhere that you want to get to. Now, also what's significant about this location is that it is going to be very near the new North-South corridor, which should be done by 2026 to 2027. And this North-South corridor cuts all the way down here, all the way through this Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park. So we are really just a few minutes drive away to this North-South corridor. And as mentioned earlier before, North-South corridor is this 21.5 kilometer transit corridor that includes trunk routes, bus lanes, cycling routes, and also it will help to ease the traffic around the various expressways around it also. In fact, once it is being built, right, it will cut down travelling time from the northern side to the city centre by up to 15 minutes, which is quite a considerable time, especially if you are going to peak hour driving in the traffic jams and whatnot. Now, if you're a nature lover, you'll also really like this location because it is a few minutes drive to Thomson Nature Park, to Lower Pierce Reservoir Park, Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park, as well as a few minutes drive down to the Singapore Island Country Club, the SICC golf course as well. So for recreation and also nature, it is very nearby to Lentor Hills Residences. Now, in terms of schools, you are within 1 kilometer radius of Anderson Primary School, as well as CHIJ St. Nick's Girls' School. So these two schools are also very good as well as primary schools. Now, one downside that we have at Lentor right now is that there aren't many amenities nearby, very little eateries nearby as well. If you're talking about walking distance, the closest one would probably have to be the Ang Mo Kio Block 628 Market and Food Centre down here. Okay, but if you are a driver, there are quite a few eateries that are within minutes drive away. Most of them being around this area here. You will have your Sembawang Hill Food Centre, you have your Jalan Kuras eateries around the area, Springleaf around the area as well. So several eating options just a few minutes drive away. You can also drive down to Bishan area, we have Junction 8. You can also drive down to Ang Mo Kio Hub area. So within driving distance, there's definitely amenities in the area, but currently right now you don't have much within walking distance. However, that would change in a few years' time because once Lentor Hills Residences TOP, it should TOP around the same time as Lentor Modern. As we all know, Lentor Modern is an integrated development. They will have a 96,000 square feet retail space there as well. If you are talking about the different shops, you have a 12,000 square feet supermarket, 10,000 square feet childcare. So everything you need in terms of shopping, in terms of groceries, in terms of eateries, you can actually very simply settle it at the Lentor Modern mall that they will be building at the same time as when Lentor Hills Residences achieves its TOP. There is a plan to develop this entire Lentor township. So in the future, there will be more amenities and eateries, shopping options that will be building nearby to satisfy the demand of all these residential properties that will be building around here. So we can look forward to that as well in the future. So in summary, although the area doesn't have much amenities, but in the future when the township is being built up, there will definitely be more amenities, eateries, shopping options available. Plus, if you're looking at the location to Lentor MRT, you're so near to Lentor MRT that you're so accessible to other areas in Singapore. Like I said, 2, 4 and 6 stops to different interchanges, so very accessible. And also coupled with the north-south corridor, there will be some transformational growth in the area as well. So for location, I'll give it 4/5. Now next is development quality and facilities. Now this project is being built as a joint venture between Guaco Land, Hong Leong Group and TID Development. So these three developers, right, may seem like they're all separate developers, but actually all three developers are owned by a single entity called Hong Leong Group. If you are talking about projects in this area, Lentor Modern that just launched there is also by Guaco Land. And if you can see here, from the Quality Housing portal, although Guaco Land by itself is a Band 2 developer, just a reminder that developers are being rated based on Band 1 all the way to Band 6 or not banded. So Band 2 is not too bad. Of course, it's still not Band 1 yet, and that's mainly because of Warwick Residences that they built last time. You have 3 projects under Guaco Land currently. 2 of them are Band 1, Martin Modern and Sims Urban Oasis. So its most recent 2 projects that were TOP have achieved Band 1, with the exception of Warwick Residences. But if they are combining with Hong Leong Group to do this, we know that both of these are quality developers. They are reputable developers that have been in Singapore for a very long time. So we know that they are still able to provide good quality still. So now moving into facilities of the project. Now one thing that I really like about Lentor Hills Residences, right, is that it is very focused on waterscapes and greenery in the project. You can see that even the pool, this is the main pool, which is considered a 50-meter lap pool, but it's more of an organic shape here. It's actually even bigger than a 50-meter lap pool that you get for a standard condo nowadays. You can see the types of landscaping that they are doing, plus the architectural design allows it to really be a little bit more organic and resort-like. Even the grand entrance here, something that I think is important for condos nowadays is that it doesn't jam up the entrance at the road. So if you have an arrival court inside the development, it allows the cars to come in and drop off whoever they need to drop off at a central area inside the development itself, right? So as mentioned earlier on, the pool here is very organic-like. It has a feature waterfall at the pool area as well, and there's a clubhouse here that we'll go through a little bit later also. You have onsen, jacuzzis, so on and so forth. So again, they are really focusing a lot on making this place feel like a resort, feel like you're not in Singapore anymore, and give you a very relaxing kind of environment. So let's go into more of the detailed facilities in the area. Now, we are now looking at level 1 facilities. They also have facilities on the 8th, 9th floor of the project and also on the 23rd floor of the project as well. So looking at the first floor, right, it has already most of the facilities you need in the project. Like I mentioned earlier on, the 50-meter lap pool. In fact, what they say here is that the surface area is approximately 525 square meters. And the reason they want to put that is because, again, organic shape. So they want to show you that it's actually a bigger surface area than what most condo pools will actually give you. You can see that there's a kind of a streamlined shape from top to bottom in terms of its water features all the way down here, where you can find their onsen alcove. You have a jacuzzi, there's a heated onsen cascading water feature. And next to it is a tennis court, which is on the basement 1 level that is right next to the arrival court that we talked about just now. Now moving onwards, you can see that you have your barbecue area dotted around the development, from the barbecue up to your fitness trails and all the way to the ponds in the area. It gives a very nice feeling when you're actually down there to walk around the development because of its resort-like kind of facilities. So I think one thing very unique about this development is that they have conserved an existing tree. They have not taken it down. At the tip of the development, it is an Alstonia Angus tiloba tree. And what's special about it is there's a tree here. They also give like a picnic area in front, so that as you are having a picnic with your family, admiring the tree. Your kids can actually play at the site here. There's a kids playground area here. So it's a very family-oriented facility there. And I think it's also worth mentioning that this development will have its own childcare center, so families need not worry where to send your child when you're at work. On the 8th, 9th story of the development, there's also separate facilities area. You have your sky gardens, jacuzzi pools, you have your garden bridge right at the center to link the two blocks together. And because of this sky bridge, they also built a 400 meters jogging track going around all the different blocks, past the bridge and around this block and going back. So that's a total of 400 meters jogging track, so you can train for your IPPT, right? Other than that, you will have various work from anywhere pods where you can do your work from anywhere in the development. And also at the 23rd floor of just block 35, there's also an alfresco dining and BBQ pavilion as well. So again, no lack of facilities on the first floor, 8th, 9th floor, and also the 23rd floor. Why they have such planning for their facilities is because the shape of the development is very special. It's not just one standard floor level. Let me show you. So this is what the shape of the development will look like in terms of its elevation chart. It looks like a mountainous region to kind of tie in the look of nature of hills, right? And if you talk about the organic look of the development, you'll see that this is what it actually looks like when it's being built eventually, right? So this is where you can find the 8th, 9th story with the bridge facilities as well. So in summary, with a reputable developer developing this project, a joint venture between 3 developers who are under Hong Leong Group, and also because the facilities are very interesting as well, I would give the score of development quality and facilities 4/5. So next we'll be talking about competitive pricing. Now, surrounding properties of Lentor Hills Residences other than Lentor Modern are pretty old. Now, if we look at a 1 kilometer radius around that area, you'll find that most of the properties are 1980s to early 2000s, which are all pretty old already. The newest one there is Meadows at Pierce, which was built in 2012. So if we are expecting Lentor Hills Residences to be built around 2026 to 2027, there will be at least a 14 to 15 years difference in age group, right? So if we are talking about Meadows at Pierce, this is 1,003 to 1,006 per square foot in terms of its pricing. It is freehold as well. So the rest, if they are older, and Meadows at Pierce is already 14 to 15 years older, how do we effectively compare prices for Lentor Hills Residences? Now, then we have to check out what are the newest launches that will be coming up around it, and we have to first talk about what is the price that Lentor Hills Residences is likely going to be launched at. Now let's talk a little bit about the negatives first. Now, if we take a look at the break-even pricing for Lentor Hills Residences, it's about 1,820 per square foot. So if we are talking about a 15 to 25% profit margin for Lentor Hills Residences, which is kind of profit margin that we are seeing for new launches nowadays, that will put it at about 2,001 to 2,300 per square foot in terms of its launch price. Meaning, if we were to look at the recent transacted prices of, let's say, Meadows at Pierce, 1,005, 1,006 per square foot, it will put it at about 500 to, as much as comparing to all this, right? 500 to about 800 per square foot in terms of its price difference than the surrounding older condos. Now, although these are at least 13 years older, but that is still quite a big price gap. Now, if you are looking at Lentor Modern launch prices, right, it was launched at around 1,009 to 2,003 per square feet. And if Lentor Hills Residences is going to be launching at around the same price, there's an argument to be made that Lentor Modern is an integrated development closer to MRT, has a mall below, so people will definitely prefer Lentor Modern over Lentor Hills Residences. At the same price, I would probably buy Lentor Modern instead. So those are the cons. However, now let's talk about the pros of Lentor Hills Residences area. Now, as you all know, this is going to be made into a new township. And with that, there are several parcels of lands that have either already been sold as well after Lentor Hills Residences or are going to be sold in the future. So Since Lentor Hills Residences, there were 3 more parcels of land that were already sold. One is Lentor Gardens, Lentor Hills Parcel B, and also Lentor Central. When Lentor Hills Residences was sold, the land sales was at 1060 per square feet per plot ratio. And since then, almost all the land sales that were sold were higher. Lentor Central at 1108 per square foot, Lentor Hills Parcel B at 1130 per square foot. The only one that is sold slightly lower is Lentor Gardens, which was sold in April of this year at 985 per square foot. But we'll talk about this piece of land a little bit later. Now what you start to realize is this. Out of all the land parcels that were sold in this area, 4 out of 5 parcels of land were bought by developers that are related to Hong Leong Group. Lentor Modern was bought by Guaco Land. Lentor Hills Parcel A was bought by Hong Leong and Guaco Land. Lentor Hills Parcel B, Hong Leong. Lentor Garden, Guaco and Hong Leong. The only one that wasn't sold to Hong Leong Group was Lentor Central, whereby Hong Leong did put in a bid, but Capital Land and Soil Build actually outbidded Hong Leong there. So this was the reason why this piece of land didn't go to Hong Leong. But other than this one, all the pieces of land are sold to subsidiaries or developers related to Hong Leong Group. Now this signifies a few crucial points for this area. Number one, that Hong Leong Group is very confident of this area and also very invested into this area, which means they wouldn't want this area to fail, number one, and that they'll be building more amenities as well as protecting the price of the properties in this area by, number two, bidding for more parcels of land in the coming future, because in that way they sort of protect the price of their existing launches, especially Lentor Modern, which was the first one to be launched, and you can expect subsequent prices to be getting higher and higher, especially because the 2 other pieces of land that were bidded after Lentor Hills were at a higher price. Now to get back to the piece of land that was recently bidded for in Lentor Garden, which is Guaco and Hong Leong Group, bidded it for 985 per square foot. Yes, it is lower. But one thing that people have to realize is this. This piece of land was bidded after government measures affected how much saleable area the developers can sell to buyers. Now what am I talking about? Now what people need to understand is that the government actually introduced new rulings on the redefinition of GFA, or what we call gross floor area. And it negatively affects the saleable areas that developers can charge buyers for, which means things like AC ledgers, which didn't used to go into the total GFA, but are still charged to buyers as part of the saleable area, are now part of the total project GFA. Void spaces are also not counted towards GFA now. So loft or empty air spaces in the past, when you have very high ceilings, right? The developers will include maybe say 200 square feet of airspace as part of your GFA. These are not included in your GFA anymore. So what developers used to do is to include this square footage into their saleable, chargeable per square feet to the buyers. So instead of 1,000, they take the airspace and put it as 1,200 square feet. These can no longer be done as well. So these changes mean that total saleable area that developers can charge towards the buyers are affected, and they are not going to absorb all these costs. They are going to bring all these costs forward and charge it to you buyers as well. So they did factor in all these costs when bidding for this piece of land. So even though the piece of land was sold at 985 per square foot, it is very likely that they're going to be launching this piece of land at or higher than Lentor Hills Residences prices. So although the price gap between the current condos are big and charging similar to Lentor Modern without the benefit of an integrated development, but future support in prices still proves quite promising for Lentor Hills Residences. So for score, I'm giving it 3/5. Next up is rental yield. Now the most obvious rental tenant pool that we can find is from the Tagore Industrial Estate here. And of course, being a new development in the area, it will pull tenants' attention from the rest of the older condos around here. So I think that it is definitely rentable, but let's compare the pricing as well. The newest ones that we can see here are Meadows at Pierce and the Calro, so we'll definitely take from those examples. Meadows at Pierce for their 2-bedders are renting at about 3,000 to 4,200 a month, whereas Calrose we are renting at about 3,000 to as much as 4,500, right, in a month. So of course the size is different, the size is bigger here as well. But being a new development will definitely have higher rental prices. Now let's take example of the last time we went through Lentor Modern. Lentor Modern, we actually did say that assuming a 3,004 to about 4,002 to 4,003 per month rental rate, we use that as an assumption. So same thing here. Today we'll be using an assumption for Lentor Modern versus Lentor Hills Residences. I would assume that Lentor Modern would be able to achieve a higher rental rate as compared to Lentor Hills. So if previously we were talking about 3,004 to 4,002 a month in rental for Lentor Modern, right now conservatively we'll have to put Lentor Hills at about 3,000 to 4,000 per month to just match Meadows at Pierce. Assuming two-bedders for Lentor Hills are going to be around the range of 1.5 to 1.7 million, the rental yield will come up to be about 2.4 to 2.8% for its future rental yield based on a very conservative 3,000 to 4,000 per month, which to be honest is still not too bad. So for score of rental yield, we'll give it 3/5. So lastly, we have stack selection. Now, assessing this is pretty easy. We are just trying to avoid west sun and also trying to avoid the future construction noise and blockage for the other newer pieces of land. So for that, you will have your ideal stacks, your average stacks, and your not so ideal stacks. So for score, for stack selection, we are giving it 2.5/5. So gathering all the different scores from the various factors, we have an average score of 3.3/5. So we hope our analysis has been helpful for you in understanding Lentor Hills Residences. If you want to know what kind of units you should be going for, whether the value is right or not, feel free to drop us a DM, give us a call, and we'll arrange a viewing for you and a session with you immediately. What other projects do you want us to go through? Leave it down in the comment section below. And as usual, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel because it will help us out a lot. We'll see you in the next real review. Bye!